That's
You're like
crazy.
you're an OG, Kristina.
I am OG. I'm like OG everywhere. OG at my CrossFit gym. OG.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You're CrossFit too. We can nerd out about CrossFit too a little bit
Totally.
Right.
if you're down with that.
Exactly.
So that's excellent. So yeah, let's jump right in. Brittany, let's go ahead and introduce our guest today.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm super, super excited. We've been wanting to do this, I think, for a really long time, or I've at least been wanting to do this for a very long time. And podcast schedules and my schedule and what have you hasn't been able to align. But I'm so excited to have one of my longest time clients. I don't want to say oldest clients because that's not true. I almost said oldest. My longest time clients, Kristina Alcorn, on the podcast, and for us to be able to chat with her and just hear all the wonderful things that WAG has brought to her life. And I will tease, more importantly, all the wonderful things she has brought to my life. So,
wow.
Kristina, welcome.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm sure I'm a constant source of entertainment for you. If nothing else, right?
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This is great.
Yeah, we're excited to talk to you. Like Brittany said, it's been in the works for a while, and we're so happy to have you on finally. So thanks for making the time to do it. I want to kick things off with the real basic stuff.
Sure.
Where are you from? Who do you live with? Who do you share your life with? Give us the details. Let us know.
I am originally from Tennessee, so that's where I
Okay.
grew up. Just a big football fan down there. My family still lives down there. My younger brother and his family still live there, and my mom still lives
Whereabouts
there.
in Tennessee?
I grew up about an hour east of Nashville. My
Okay.
brother lives just outside of Knoxville. My mom is kind of somewhere in between there.
Gotcha. Right on.
So they still live there. I moved up here for a
And
job
where do you live
30
now?
years ago. So I'm in Michigan right now, just north of Detroit.
Oh, there.
Yeah, so that
Gotcha.
was about 30 years ago or so. It's been a very long time when I moved up here for work. But I still go home and see them, or I'll have them come out. We'll do trips and stuff together. So I see my family. I am single. I don't have any kids of my own. I have some great nieces and nephews though, so we hang out with them
Awesome.
and go hang out with my family. So no, I live by myself. I got a few plants, but that's about it. Some artificial ones now, because now I refuse to try to take care of plants. It's not good. I can't seem to manage that. So no, it's just me. But lots of friends in the area, CrossFit friends, OCR friends, but still keep in touch with my family quite a bit.
Good. I was going to mention the CrossFit family because like it's so true. It's like your gym is
Right.
like your circle. It's like your family. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's great. I'm kind of an aunt to most of them because I work out with people, and Brittany and I have discussed this. You work out with people who are much younger than you are. So all of the people that I work out with are just 20s and 30s, and
And I don't know when that shift happened, right? Like
right.
I remember when I started CrossFit, I was an early adopter of CrossFit. Like I was lucky enough to live in an area where it came around early. So I'm like in my late 20s, early 30s, and I felt like everyone was in their 40s at that time. Suddenly I'm in my 40s and everyone's in their early 20s. Like when did that happen?
Right. I know when I started, same kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, and COVID certainly messed up a ton of stuff as far as scheduling and who was coming when and who was doing what. But yeah, it's mostly now people who are much younger. In fact, last night there was a lady that I've known for one. She's in her 40s, and we were talking about being older. She's like, I feel like I'm the oldest one here, and I just looked at her and went, no. I'm like, how old are you? She's like, I'm 40 something. I'm like, I just turned 57, so I think I got you by a few years, so you're good to go. But it's true. Somewhere along the way, the dynamic, kind of changed. But it's great because you're working out with people who are younger than you. They push you along, and it's really, you get to watch their lives kind of grow,
Totally.
kind of thing, which is really cool. Watch them. So, but yeah, it's still a community. It's a good family.
It's awesome. Do you want to shout out the gym real quick? I always love to do that.
Oh, yeah. It's CrossFit High Caliber Strength and Performance in Troy, Michigan. Yeah, Coach Travis.
Awesome.
If you're ever in
we're
that
not far
area,
from
drop
each other,
by.
right?
I don't think we are, right? I knew you were. So yeah,
No,
we'd love to have people drop
I
in.
feel like Michigan is a really long state, and I feel like Josh is at the very top of that state.
It's a very tall state. But it's the only state that you get, directions by the mitten, right?
Yeah.
That's the only. So no, it's high cal strength. So yeah.
Cool.
I feel like Josh could be 15 hours from someone who is still in Michigan. I'm not sure.
It's true. It's true. He could be like a good 5 hours.
For real. I mean, I am.
For sure.
I'm about 4 hours north of you. But
yeah, because you're way up there, and you're going to get the snow before the rest of us. But
yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I have a couple clients that live in Canada, and they were like asking me, like, "You guys have snow yet?" And I'm like, "Shh, don't say that. Don't say it."
Oh my gosh, no, it's too early.
Don't think about it. Don't talk. Nothing. I don't want to hear about it.
Right? Don't say the word.
Right.
Don't. That's funny.
Right. So why don't we talk a little bit about how you and Brittany, well, I mean, obviously you joined WAG and you got Brittany as your coach, and that was the beginning of this amazing relationship. But let's go back a little bit further than that and talk about why why were you looking for a coach in the first place, and what were you kind of like looking to gain out of this whole experience?
Yeah. And I think I've heard Brittany mention it before. It's like you need somebody else sometimes to drive the bus. Me driving the bus was not working. And
that's a great
at that point
analogy.
Right. I was trying, but I was going in circles. And so I was reaching a point on the scale that I did not want to be. I had been gaining weight, and I was around 50 at the time. So you got all those hormones and everything else going on. But, I was also one of those that thought, well, I'm exercising. Well, I can eat what I want. Well, life happens and things happen, and you start to eat. And then you realize that the scale is creeping up on you.
Yeah.
And so I had tried a few things, and I was very familiar with macro counting. I had been trying to do it. I'd worked with a couple of folks, never anybody really officially, like having a coach that was my own. And so I was at CrossFit, of course, and some of the ladies started talking about WAG, right? Because it was that was it. And so I started looking. I looked, but I was just reaching a point where I'd lose a few pounds and think, oh, this is great. I've lost a few pounds. I can go back and eat. And it was just that continual cycle of, I'm working out. I can eat. No, it just doesn't work that way. And I realized that what I was doing, so I still had the same goal. I just needed to do something different. I needed for someone else to do this for me. And I needed somebody to help hold me accountable, because that's what I didn't have. When you're trying to do it for yourself, you can excuse all sorts of things. Well, I can eat because I did this. This happened, so I can go eat. The muffins at 7-Eleven are really great, so we're going to go have muffins at 7-Eleven. Kind of thing. And so at CrossFit, the ladies, some of the girls were talking about WAG, and so I went and looked online, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This macro counting. I know how to do this. And I was reading all about it, looking at the coaches, looking at, what was going on in your area at the time on the site. And I'm like, well, this is great. This is probably what I need to do. And I remember telling myself, if I can give myself that 3 months that was required, I could do this. That if I signed in 3 months, and when I filled out the form and I hit submit, I was like, when you hit submit, you're in. You're going to do this. And if you can give yourself the 3 months, and of course, here we are several years later, but that's how I got started.
That's how it starts.
And
yeah.
And
I
that's
think
how it started. Yeah.
And probably Kristina ended up with me now I think those of you who listen to this podcast know that I'm the spoke in the wheel when someone comes into WAG. I'm usually the one who slots you out to your coach if you don't recommend or you don't request a specific coach. But I would assume that whoever was doing the assignments back then, Kristina ended up with me because she is a type 1 diabetic, and I was the only dietitian on the staff at the time.
Right.
Like you get her.
They're like, oh, you get her. Which I was really excited to. I think I'm pretty sure with this statement that you were my first diabetic WAG client. So I was excited to continue. I came from that clinical world, so I was like, oh, I know how to do this. Like, this is like, let me roll with this. This is my new taking this clinical world that I've come from and now this new like health coaching role that I'm diving into back then. I was like, this is perfect. It's marrying the two and here we are. So
Bingo. That's awesome. And so, like you said, it was all you were just like 3 months. That's it. Gonna buckle down.
Right.
Gonna do it for 3 months. And you didn't really have any quote unquote plan or, reason at that point to like stay on after that.
I didn't, I didn't really know because I wanted to lose weight, maintain the strength that I have because I'm fairly strong. There was just, I was just getting to a point. So that was the goal. And really, I didn't. I'm like, well, let's see where this goes. If I can give myself, I know I can do it if I give myself 3 months, till they start losing weight, I can see what happens. And I know, but after that, no, it was kind of just, it happened.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
Was there ever a moment in those 3 months where you were like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is dumb. I don't want to do it. And then Brittany was like, listen, you signed up for this. We're going to do this. Was there any one of those moments that you guys went through?
No.
Was there multiple moments that you guys went through?
I don't think so.
That's great.
I don't think that's how she operates.
That's awesome. No. Good.
No. And I'll give everyone, we discovered this, like I went back and looked before I think we started recording, but this, I'm going to give it 3 months, was 6.5 years ago, everyone. So
exactly.
We've been at this a while. So
yeah.
No, Kristina doesn't operate that way. I think I would love to clone her and put her into a lot of different personalities in a way that she gets this idea that this is what she's going to do and does it. And that's it. Like there isn't any other thing in the discussion.
Right.
It's, this is what I'm going to do. Talk to you later. That's it. There isn't anything else.
Right.
It's just
and
so
help me get there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so cut and dry for her. And I appreciate that personality so much. It is not, this is what I want to do. I'm scared. This is what I want to do. I'm worried I'm not going to be able to do it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm nervous about the time commitment and the training commitment. There's none of that. That might be in her head, but I don't ever hear it. It's, this is what I'm going to do. What do we have to do to make it happen?
Yep.
That's it. That is the conversation. And that is why she has been so successful. It's because she's driven with an idea and then she just wants to act. There's none of this middle noise for her.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. There was no time in that, that we had that discussion. I knew what I did. I knew what I wanted to do. I'm very stubborn, can be very stubborn. I'm very persistent. If I can make it happen at some point in some way, then it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's where we are, 6.5 years later. Because very quickly, I mean, within months, I had lost like 45 pounds. It just rolled, and once we discovered what was going on and how well that we were meshing and the relationship that Brittany and I had, it just rolled. And within that short amount of time, not only had I maintained a lot of the strength that I had, but I was down to a weight now that I could move better and look better and feel better, Certainly helped my diabetes out, a bit. So it was all good. So you don't fix something that's not broken,
Right. So let me switch it over to Brittany real quick. When you get a client that is, type 1, like Kristina is, and also is very, very, well, I mean, she used the word stubborn. Not me. She used the word stubborn.
I am stubborn. That is, my mom will tell you.
Dead set on like achieving this goal. What kind of like considerations do you take in when you're developing the program for someone like this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think for Kristina, her diabetes was just always a background for us. I don't think that was ever anything that was in the forefront of, oh, we shouldn't do this because, or we need to keep this in mind because we were lucky that I think correct me if I'm wrong, Kristina, but I feel like your blood sugars were always fairly well controlled. Even at a higher weight, your blood sugars were well controlled. So the main considerations I had to keep in mind were when you're working with someone with any type of diabetes, but especially with type 1 diabetes, it is all about consistency. You want to try to eliminate having training and rest day macros. The only variables that Kristina has is if she's doing a long race, we'll do like a refeed day. So you want to keep things consistent. So even though Kristina has a pump, that's sort of taking the guesswork out of it a little bit, but that way it gives your body consistent carbohydrates throughout the week. He knows what to expect. Now, there would have been additional coaching challenges had it been someone whose blood sugars were way out of control and they were off the charts. Then I think we would have had to scale back and say, hey, your diet is not matching the expectation of what you want your body to do. This has to come up to meet what your body wants to do. But with Kristina, she was to a point where she was saying, this is what I want to do. So I'm going to elevate my diet to match what I want my body to do. There was just no question. It was like, she had it in her mind. She wanted to do these things and she just started doing it. Like it was great. It still is great. Like I talk about it like it's in the past tense. She's still trying to achieve all these different things. And every week we're still talking about these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only conversation I remember us having about that was when I had low blood sugar, because it's extra carbs. Yeah. And you're like, well, do I count that? I don't want to count that.
Sure.
It's like, you know, but if your blood sugar goes low, you need to treat it. And that's like some form of carbs. And so it was just like, well, tell me when you have to do it, or tell me when it's extreme, so that we know, you know, what happened during that week. Because I'm like, well, if you're having a bad week and you have a bunch of low blood sugars, all your carbs are, you know, kind of out the window. But since I've had diabetes for so long, carb counting I've been doing for years.
Got
you know, kind of thing. It was just incorporating the other portions, you know, and
yeah. And I think it's just that, you know, maybe looking back, if I had to dissect it all, maybe that is part of why our coaching relationship has worked so well, because there is this bit of a, you know, I'm relying on her for that much and for that information about her body and her medical diagnosis. She's relying on me for the fueling for the athletic performance part of it. So we absolutely, and it's the same in every coaching dynamic, but it's more pronounced here. We rely on each other for that information for it to work. Right. It's not a total push, you know, where a lot of coaching is just pushing information. For us, it's very much a push and a pull.
So the next question I wanted to ask is, and I don't know obviously the ins and outs of this, but I would really like to kind of hear about it. You were diagnosed with breast cancer. And at what point in your time with Brittany did this kind of happen?
2 years ago, actually. So what had happened, once I lost all the weight, you know, I was moving much better. My nephew came to me and said he wanted to run an obstacle course race.
Okay.
And I didn't know what that was. And my brother said, well, you have to do it. You're the only one that works out. Okay. Well, I love my nephews and I would do anything. I'm like, okay, what do we do? So really that was kind of the next step in my journey with Brittany. We were like, okay, we lost all this weight. Now what do we do?
Okay.
Well, then an opportunity presents itself. You're like, okay, obstacle course race. And so that was like 2018, brought my nephews up and we just had a blast. And that was kind of the start of something that has blossomed into like this really crazy thing that I love to do. So that was 2018. 2019, I did a few more obstacle course races, and I'm like, well, this is great. I really love to do this. I'm learning how to move and how to do the obstacles. I'm like, this is great. So, you know, we're all ready for 2020. Well, that kind of just messed everybody up.
Yeah.
That was
none of us were ready for 2020.
No, none of us were ready.
That's right.
No, in fact, I was in San Antonio getting ready for a Spartan race. That was March.
I remember this. Yeah.
Remember that? My mom and my aunt went with me so we were down in San Antonio waiting, and the day before the race, they canceled it because of COVID. They shut everything down, and actually, I'm just fortunate we were all able to make it back home because my mom's in her 80s and stuff, so we were ready.
Yeah.
I ended up just going out and volunteering, but that was the start. You know, that was 2020, and so for everybody. I work from home, and I've worked from home for years, so that didn't bother me. What bothered me is I couldn't go out anywhere. I couldn't go to the gym.
Right.
My home isn't set up for a gym. So anyway, what I started doing, which Brittany will laugh, is I started doing virtual races, like all of them. I was doing 5K, 10Ks, obstacle course virtuals wherever I could get them, just so I would be ready for the next year when hopefully things would open back up and we'd be able to go to races. So I was so looking forward to 2021 because I'm like, I'm in great shape. This is really great. And lo and behold, I found a lump in December. It's right near the end of December, so I couldn't get in to get it checked until January. And so in January, I was diagnosed with stage 2B, triple negative breast cancer, which I did not know even what that was. So
Sure.
you have to go figure out what that is without doing too much research that you scare the life out of yourself. But so you have to be careful with that.
Can you share with the audience what exactly that does mean?
Triple negative breast cancer. There's two or three types of initial breast cancers. One is hormone driven, right, which is women's hormones, estrogen. So it can be hormone driven, but there's two hormones in there. It's estrogen and what is it? I don't know what the other one is.
Progesterone.
Thank you. The other one is a protein called HER2. And so you can have one or both. You can have triple positive, but when you don't have either one, they call it triple negative because they don't know where it came from.
Oh, okay.
And that's a little bit of the scary part is they don't know where it came from. It's not protein driven. It's not hormone driven. It's from something else, obviously.
Wow. Yeah.
Stage 2B, it was B because it was triple negative, but stage 2 meant there was no lymph node involvement. So I was very blessed, very fortunate that it hadn't spread, that we caught it when we did, got the biopsies and everything. But yeah, it was a bit of a shocker. That was entirely not what I wanted to do that year. But, here we were. I was looking forward to some other stuff, but, so that's what 2B is. 2B is just the stage. It had not spread. Of course, you have all the tests and stuff to make sure it's not anywhere else.
Sure.
Which
is
the little scary part of that because they're like, well, you need a PET scan. No, I don't want that because I know what you're looking for. I really don't want to do that. But you have to do what you have to do at that point. So
yeah, absolutely.
When that happened, your everything changes, right? You're now on this other completely different path in your life. And I was like, okay, well, this is my race for this year. This is what I have to do. Everything else is outside. This is the path, and this is the race that I run. So that just starts a whole roller coaster. I think one of my coaches called it I think you probably remember this, Brittany. Somebody called it a bad chipper of things that I had to get done. But I'm like, this is like the worst chipper ever. Because you're sitting there in January trying to figure out how you're going to get to October, because that was the projected time that I was going to be done. So that started a whole of test and, just trying to stand up after you've been knocked down and figure out what you're going to do. And I'm like, okay, just tell me what to do and I'll go do it.
Yeah.
Tell me where to go, what to do. And that's how that started, was in January then of 2021.
That mentality, though, it's exactly what Brittany was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like, okay, this is what we're doing. And okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah.
That was it. And I knew I was strong enough to do it. My mom obviously was kind of the last person I told because I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to call her the nurse navigator that I got. There's a great team of medical people asked me if she could help me. I'm like, yeah, can you call my mom, and tell her I have breast cancer? She's like, no. You're on your own, sister. I called my brother first. But, my mom, even my mom was like, well, I wish I could take this for me, like any mom would do.
Yeah.
And I just looked at my mom and said, no, Mom, I got this. I got it.
Yeah.
I knew that I had it, by my faith and by things that were going on with me. I was strong enough to do it. And I'm like, no, I got it, But you start down a path of all these tests that have to be done and all these other things that, that have to be done quickly. I actually had to buy a planner, like a regular planner to write things down in because you've got appointments every week, multiple ones. And as you start, you're okay, but fatigue starts to set in after a while. So,
of course, yeah.
But yeah, that's where we started, was in January of 2021.
I have to ask, and this goes to the nutrition side of things too. That mentality, Where does that come from? Like, how do
From
you
my dad. No.
Okay. Okay. Hey, that's
No,
great.
I think it's
That's
from
what
my
I'm
mom
looking
and my
for.
dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, how do you
I think a
cultivate
lot of
that?
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, and I'm older, and I've been through, some depression, some anxiety issues that I've had to work on from my 30s and 40s. And I think by the time you get to your 50s, you've and I kind of jumped into that too. I'm like, I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to have all this anxiety. So I've done a ton of work in that along those lines to develop those good coping techniques and things that I needed to be able to move forward, not getting stuck,
Yeah.
in depression or stuck somewhere. So yeah, I could have gotten stuck in that. I mean, I really couldn't say breast cancer for the few days. I could say breast and I could say cancer, but I couldn't put them
Right.
together. It
Sure.
took me a little bit
Yeah.
to be able to process that and to be able to stand up on my feet, brush myself off, and go, okay. It took me a little bit. You get
Of
knocked down
course. Yeah.
for sure, and then you've got everybody reaching out to you to help, and you're like, just let me stand up. Let me stand up, brush myself off, um, and go, because I was really careful about who I was telling.
Yeah,
Obviously,
of course.
told Brittany. I don't even remember what I'm sure I don't even want to go back and look what I typed.
I don't think we changed though. I was just thinking about this. I remember reading your message. I remember exactly where I was.
Yeah.
I remember reading that message, but I don't think that I changed my coaching to you. I don't think I changed anything. I think it was in the background, but I don't think I ever said or changed my approach. And I did this purposefully. I don't think I ever changed an approach to go, oh no, this is my client Kristina with cancer. Let's kid glove her. No,
Yeah.
I did the other direction and went, oh shit, this is my client Kristina with cancer.
Right.
If there's ever a time for her to have it together, this is it. Maybe she doesn't have to hit macros perfectly, because we threw that out the window eventually, in the midst of treatment. But if there's ever a time to take care of yourself, this is it. Like, there's no back off. Like, oh, Kristina with cancer, let's be kind and let her just eat whatever she wants. Oh no, this is like Kristina with cancer. You have to take care of yourself because this is life or death. So I think I took the complete opposite route from what I think a lot of people would take. And that was just instinctual to me of like, oh no, my medical brain went on of like, let's do this way.
Yeah.
And she happened to respond really well to that. So that worked.
Well, I think because we had given each other an out.
Yeah.
I certainly wasn't going to drag anybody into it that didn't want to go, because I certainly didn't want to do it. I wasn't going to pull anybody in, but we both agreed.
Yeah.
We don't know what this journey is going to look like, but let's do it and see, where we go.
Yeah, she told me I could quit. She's like, if you don't want to do this with me, you don't have to. I'm like, what do you
mean? Right. I mean, well, every time I would tell somebody that I had cancer, I felt like I was handing them a hand grenade and going, here, hold on to this for me.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like when I told people, that it was just handing them a live grenade. I'm like, it's going to go off in a minute. So
no way.
That's how I felt. And I was very careful to make sure that, she was on board and I wasn't assuming something or taking something for granted, because I wanted her along with me for sure.
Oh, thanks. I think
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that means a lot. I think a big discussion that, we could probably talk about this for a long time, but when one of you mentioned or Josh asked where that mentality comes from, and when we think in life, and listen, this is going to be a really crude comparison, but stick with me. I'm not comparing cancer to a workout. I'm not.
Right.
But when we think about doing hard things in life,
when
you put yourself in hard positions and make yourself uncomfortable multiple times a week. We live in a CrossFit space, some of us, or an OCR space, or, we have lots of clients who are runners or weightlifters, and we put ourselves in uncomfortable spaces week in and week out. While it is a much heightened uncomfortable space when you get this type of diagnosis,
right?
We know what it feels like to operate and make decisions at a high heart rate. We know what it's like to operate and make decisions under pressure. And I know that translates. And that's just when you talk about the benefits of exercise and you talk about the benefits of managing nutrition, because that's not easy either. And you talk about those benefits, they are far further than just the physical. They're much more mental because, Kristina has put herself in challenging positions, like just when she talked about, mental health battles, but she works so hard physically. Like she said, this was the chipper for the year. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. She was ready.
Right. And that's the way we treated it. Was kind of, I mean, it's a weird analogy, you're right, but it's like a chipper because you can't look at, well, I don't know how I'm going to get to October from January. That seemed like a very long. So we broke it up into, a friend of mine, she's like, we broke it up into steps, into check marks. Like, okay, first chemo session's 2 months. Okay, that's the first part. Here's the next part. And then here's the next part. So when you break it up into chunks, into smaller pieces to think about, then that's the mentality and where the mentality part's in. Because, yeah, you could certainly have crumpled at that point and go,
yeah,
I'm not gonna make it.
Right.
I only had that thought one time, and that's the first chemo session when I got sick. When I got nauseous, I'm like, I'm not doing this. I didn't ask to do this. I'm not doing it. And you're like, wait a minute. You kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
Like, here we are.
Like, you're in.
You don't have a choice. You're in.
Yeah.
But I think that was one of the first times when I was like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, you are. So
I think that, like, I'd like to ask this question and get both of your responses because you're absolutely, you both kind of touched on it already. But I feel like you're both kind of like leaning on each other during this whole process. Like Kristina leaning on Brittany to be that just like that rock, or that piece of your life that is very, very consistent, that you can rely on for, an objective point of view, but also like, you've been working with each other for years. So there's a certain level of friendship that comes along with that. And then Brittany, you have this extremely unique client that is very devoted to her own health and wellness and fighting this thing. And you have to find some sort of inspiration in that, I would imagine. I mean, I'm like sitting here getting like inspired by it,
Yeah.
So how was it, like, from each of your perspectives, like at Kristina, as you started this and checking in weekly with Brittany? I'm assuming it was weekly, or however you guys did it.
Yeah.
Like, how important was that for you to have that every single week, checking in, resetting, refocusing, doing all that stuff? How did that affect the whole process of going through treatment for you?
It was really important, because once we decided, and you don't know the journey, everybody's cancer journey is so different.
Sure, yeah.
Even if you have the same diagnosis, it's completely different. And we were going on the premise to a point that I might lose weight, that if I can't eat, that if I can't do some stuff, then I'm going to lose weight. Then what do we do? Now, that never happened. I ended up gaining weight, which I had no problem with, because your body's fighting. Your body's in a struggle, like a workout, and you've got to fuel that, whatever you can eat and whatever you're trying to eat. Because that's a comfort food level after a while. You're like, I don't want protein. I want mashed potatoes and muffins. And that's really what
that's hearty Midwest food.
It is. It's that Southern thing.
Mashed potatoes and muffins.
Yeah.
That was my thing. Somebody had brought me muffins, and all of a sudden I was about the muffins, and I would eat mashed potatoes. It was whatever, because it was one of those. I never felt so much sympathy for pregnant people, because that's how I felt. Because it just, depending on the day, what I could eat. And so Brittany and I working together and kind of doing a reset every week was good, because you didn't know what was going to happen from week to week or from day to day. And so that really helped. And it helped just to talk to somebody else and have kind of that, developing that humor for the situation that it is.
Yeah. And
I think I wore a shark hat one day on my check-in. Remember that one?
Yeah.
I had no hair, so there is that.
Yeah. And Brittany, like, on your side of things, you have, again, this incredibly, motivated client, this incredible person that's going through, her life will never be the same after this, and hearing from her every single week and getting these updates. Like how are you taking that in, and how are you kind of processing this whole thing and helping her just kind of, keep going,
I think Kristina has done wonders for my other WAG clients, and has also unfortunately set them back because I'm harder on them now after experiencing with her.
Sorry, everybody. Sorry. Sorry about that.
No, but in all honesty, like when she said, my first instinct was she's going to lose a lot of weight and we're going to lose a lot of muscle mass. Both my parents have had cancer and have battled cancer, bladder cancer and lung cancer. So, and like they both lost a dramatic amount of weight. So like Kristina said, everyone's cancer journey is different. And I went on the offense immediately thinking, oh no, you're going to be so sick. You're not going to be able to eat. You're going to lose weight. And she didn't. And I'm so proud of that, because I think she felt relatively good throughout. Relatively good, right? Still felt like crap, I know. Because we had such a great foundation, and we were able to say, open those doors and say, eat what you can eat. If it's mashed potatoes and muffins, fine. But what I learned, and it's sometimes hard to put into words, but with the caveat that everyone's different, of course, and everyone's unique in their situation. But everyone's heart is hard. Everyone's heart is hard, even if we look at someone's situation and say, oh, I've got it worse than you. No, whatever someone is experiencing at the moment is hard for them. Everyone's heart is hard. And I have now witnessed, and I have other clients who have gone through really significant medical situations as well. And I've now seen someone who has taken this and not let it stop them. Did it slow us down? Hell yes, it slowed us down. Of course it did. Did things happen that year that we had planned out that they were going to happen? No. But are we right back now where we probably would have been? Yeah, absolutely. So what I learned is that, with a whole lot of grit, determination, and just trust in your body, everything's going to be fine, And again, what it has taught me more than anything, and I use that a lot, is everyone's heart is hard. I can read a client's information or talk to a client on the video, and someone is telling me some really challenging thing that's going on in their life. And I can think in the back of my head, maybe 3 years ago, I would have thought, oh, that's not that bad. Suck it up and get through it. But now everyone's heart is hard. And meeting someone where they are and saying, how can I help you get through this? Whether it's changing your approach or doing whatever, sometimes the best path to the end isn't straight through, right? Sometimes we have to go around, and that's okay. So that's why when we first opened, I said, I'm eager for everyone to hear from Kristina and how impactful she's been for me, because really, I think I've learned as much from her probably as she's learned from me. And I mean that wholeheartedly.
Cool. Yeah.
It's a really it's a really inspiring story, Kristina, from your end of things, and also from Brittany from your side of things. For anyone that's listening, that's considering doing this, for a living, or has aspirations to be a coach and get involved with helping people achieve their goals and their best selves, you have to be aware that life has a crazy way of throwing curveballs, and you have to be ready and willing to step into these roles that you probably never thought you would. I mean, Brittany is, RD, registered dietitian, and has a little bit of a longer history of, being in the medical field than a lot of us, but still getting a message from you that one particular day, and she said, oh shit. Okay. Yeah. This changes this, this simultaneously changes everything, but it also doesn't change things.
But it also didn't. That's such a good way to put it. It also didn't. Yeah. I mean, did it, Kristina? I don't think it changed anything.
I don't think it really did. It was just, let's see what this journey holds. We've turned left now. Let's go this direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens, because I didn't know what the journey was going to be like, but I knew that I could do it. And so I just knew that if we were working together along with family and friends that I had, that support, even at the gym, I told my coach, I said, I'll be here when I can. I still want to at least move when I can, and be able to do those things. So no, having Brittany along was awesome. Just having that extra person to,
Yeah. It's it's remarkable. I mean, to know that like it didn't really change things, it's
Right.
to hear you say that is just, it's unbelievable, and it's just a testament to your your ability to kind of like take in information and put it through the Kristina filter and then take action on it.
Right.
I think everyone could use a little bit more of a Kristina filter in their life.
Totally. Like, and I think the Kristina filter and the Kristina drive, I mean, because now where are we now? So, 2 years, you just celebrated 2 years.
I just celebrated 2 years. So I had finished in October of that year and then started my recovery, which was much longer than I had hoped. Wasn't realistic about that at all. But you listen to your body, and your body will tell you what things you can do and when you can push and when you can't. And so by pushing a little bit, yeah, I mean, right now I just celebrated 2 years recovery, so very exciting.
Congratulations.
But yeah, I'm thank you. No, it's awesome. I've talked to other women on Breast Cancer Walk, meeting those survivors as well. It's just really cool. But yeah, 2 years is amazing. But yeah, I started back. I mean, the first thing I wanted to do was get back to the gym. The first thing I wanted to do was go on an obstacle course race. I needed to see where I was.
Yeah.
So I think March of that next year, I'm like, well, let's go. Let's just go see what happens. What's the worst? My niece and nephew were with me, so I'm like, what's the worst going to happen? I needed to see where I was to figure out where I was starting and what I needed to do. But no, I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Gotta start somewhere.
How did that go? How'd that first race go?
Exhausting.
Yeah.
It was exhausting because, I had lost that much endurance, but I was also so tired at the end of the year. Your brain just really has enough. And your brain at the end of October when I finished was like, we're done.
Yeah.
We're kind of done right now. We'd like to rest a bit. It was much more challenging. And I knew it would be. Because I just didn't have that. I still had some issues, though, with my shoulder where the surgery was that I was having issues with, but just the endurance part. But it was still so much fun. I'm like, let's go again. I'm ready. I'll figure it out, And now I'm running with my niece and nephew, so that's cool.
And do you have a tally? I could have looked it up because I keep the notes, but how many races have you done this year?
At least, total races? Oh, I don't know. I don't keep tally. 10 or 12.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I've done obstacle course races, but I pick up races around my area, like trail runs, because I really like to do trail runs. And I think I'm just looking at the calendar, like pretty much all of July, all of September, every weekend, there was at least one race.
Yeah.
Wow.
A couple times I picked up two 5Ks in one day, and then I did 2. And then I just came off a weekend where I did a Spartan 10K and a Spartan 5K back-to-back days.
Wow.
So,
yeah, not too shabby for 2 years after cancer, huh?
Yeah.
Not too shabby. So I pick up races where I can, and people are like, "Why do you do that?" And I said, "Because I can."
Yeah.
At a point where life is unpredictable, not just short.
Yeah.
It's very unpredictable, and you don't know. So if you have it to do it, do it. And I do it because I can. I do it for people who can't, right?
Yeah.
There's one event that I do because my aunt died of lung disease, and I do that event for her and for people that just can't breathe. You take for granted, some things. So coming off of cancer, you get a little bit different mindset.
100%.
We don't have time to waste.
100%.
So we're gonna go.
I'll give Kristina all the props. So I think, Josh, you know this, but for everyone listening, so Kristina flew to Pennsylvania to run a race with me.
That's right.
A 5K.
So cool.
And it was a 5K obstacle course race. And I feel like I'm in okay running shape for a 5K, but I knew some of the obstacles were going to be, challenging for me. Kristina is ready to push me over every obstacle. She has got her hands on my butt, ready. She's like, just go. Just go. It's fine. Just go. And I'm like, hold on.
You're like, no.
I'm like,
there was one. Yeah.
I was like, I will land on my head. I type for a living. I cannot break an arm. Like, I can't do this. And
Right.
so I think you definitely completed more obstacles than I did.
I don't know.
I
I give it a go, because one we got up on, and I told Brittany, I said, I don't know how. I didn't expect to get up here. Now I don't know how to get down. Because I looked at her and I'm like, how do I get down? She's like, I don't know. I didn't think we'd get up there. Well, okay, then we're just gonna have to wing it.
Yeah. So I mean, her ability to come back and have the amount of strength and stamina that she does, I know is, I'm not going to take credit for this because she did the work. It wasn't necessarily the work that was done while she was in treatment. It was the foundation that was laid prior to.
Mm-hmm.
It was her having the quality of nutrition prior to. She was in the peak shape I think probably you've ever been in, right? When you were diagnosed? Yeah. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Which was a huge help, right? Nutrition's on point. You're you're working out, and your workouts are on point. You're good to go. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is what I was good to go for, apparently.
Yeah.
So everything was right on.
And I always use this analogy all the time, but it's like the foundation to her house was solid. So, if an earthquake comes and it shakes the sides down a little bit, we break a few windows, that's okay. The foundation was there and everything was fine. We can rebuild that stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
So it really is just like an incredible story. It's I think, and as we get close to wrapping up here, what's a piece of advice that you love to give to others that might be dealing with some sort of health issue, hardship, maybe even breast cancer? Maybe you come across someone that, at one of these races or one of these benefits. What's one thing that you kind of like continually go back to that you try to share with them?
It's kind of hard on that. I've met a lot of people like that. I met a lady on a breast cancer walk a few weeks ago, and her daughter had triple negative. And so I ended up having a discussion with her while we were walking, just to encourage her, and to just go, you know what, just you keep fighting, you keep finding that thing. If something's not working, you go to something else, but don't be afraid to give yourself that chance to do, you're stronger than you think that you are. And I know that is a quote that comes out of breast cancer, is like, you don't know how strong you are. Well, I knew how strong I was, so that never really applied to me, but I knew how strong I was. Sometimes, especially women, don't realize how strong they are. And so I've done events and I've done volunteer work where women are like, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. So like Brittany, I'm going to push you up and over, and I'm going to help you, and we're going to do it. So feel free to rely on those people, and you just do things, because life is so short and unpredictable, but you're stronger than you think that you are. So rely on, on your faith, on your family and your friends, and having a good sense of humor certainly helps, because that
you got
well, you have to. And I'll tell one story, because after I got up, and you're trying to brush yourself off, I one of my coping skills is to try to make humor in things and try to make things funny, or try to make somebody else smile. One of the first things, I still think the breast MRI is one of the funniest things I've ever done, even while you're doing it. My first round of chemo, and you don't know, it's your first round of chemo. They're going to pump some poison into you. You don't know what that's going to look like. So you get there, and I'm with my friend, and you've packed a bag like you're going to stay for a week, because you don't know. But when you get into chemo is very personal to everybody, right? They need your height, weight, sex, how old you are, because it's very programmed to you.
Yeah, dose dependent. Everything changes.
Absolutely. So it depends on you, and then they mix it based on those. But anyway, she had to get my height and my weight. Well, I knew how much I weighed, because I weigh myself every day. So I knew that one. I'm like, I'm okay there. So she did my height. She's like, how tall do you think you are? I'm like, lady, if you're going to tell me I'm less than the 5'7" I think I am, I'm leaving. I said, I don't care. I'm out of here. She's like, she's looking at me. She's like, no, we have you at 5'8". Okay, I'm staying then.
Sure.
I'm like, don't tell me I'm short before chemo, because I'm going to ruin the whole thing.
I just can't take it right now.
I can't take it, right?
That makes my height-weight ratio even better. Thank you for the 5'8".
Right.
I appreciate that.
All that chiropractic work I did. So you just look for those humorous things, and there were things that happened in chemo and some other things. You just look for those things to kind of lighten the load, lighten it up a little bit, and just trying to make something funny out of a situation that's not fun. That's really not funny, but you have to have that mentality, that positive mindset, and you'll hear that through any cancer journey is your mindset and your mentality is half the battle.
Totally.
And I'm happy we just don't have to talk about that detox I did afterwards.
Yeah, we don't have
talk about that. Talk about that. But then just the recovery after that's been amazing. Just to push and see what this side. You're not the same. People are like, well, I want to be what I was before.
No,
you're not going to be.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like I don't care what iteration this looks like. This is what I'd like to do, but it's not going to be the same.
Right.
So you just have to accept that, as well as whatever you come out with, will be better or make it better.
Yeah.
So
I think that, that's something that I think I know that I've talked about this with women clients too. And I'm sure, Brittany, you have as well. It's like when someone wants to, after they have a baby and they want to get back to where they were, or get back to doing this and get back to doing that. It's like, it's not going to be this, we can get you to, it's not the same. That's it. We can get you to a place that is awesome and like really, really great. And you can feel better than you ever have before, but it's just not going to be the same. And that's not a bad thing. It's just not going to be the same,
right. Just different.
Exactly. Just different. So, well,
all good.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how many times I've said what an inspiring story this is, but it really, it really is. And I hope that anyone that's listening to this right now that might be going through something tough, whether it be something as, life altering or severe as a cancer diagnosis, or if it's something small that you feel like is just like eating all your energy away and you, feel like it's insurmountable, that there's people out there that have dealt with some really, really hard stuff.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
And you, that person that needs to hear it, can do it too. You heard Kristina say it before. You're a lot stronger than you think you are. So this has just been an awesome interview. And
oh, good.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been a really special one today.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I get to see Brittany today, so
yeah.
Ta-da!
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Thank you to my lovely co-host Brittany today for coming on. I appreciate it.
No, and I wish Chris was on too, but Josh, I appreciate, I've always seen you on the podcast, and I
cool.
have heard different things about you, because you've been a coach for a while too. So I know about you and Chris and a couple of the other coaches who have been around for a while. So props to you guys for the work that you do, with everybody. So
right on.
It's cool to watch,
Thank you.
People that you're pulling in now. So no, it's an amazing, and that's why I'm here. It works for me, and it will continue to work for me. And so if it's not broken, I'm not going to try and fix it.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah. Give it a go.
Give it a go. Yeah. On that note, if you're listening to this and you want to sign up for one-on-one coaching, please go to workingagainstgravity.com/join, and you can use the code InsideWAG and get $50 off your first month of coaching with us. Could be with me, could be with Brittany, could be with Chris, any one of our awesome coaches that we have on staff. So if you're into it and you're looking for that, do it. Yeah. That's all I got to say about
that. For sure. Yep.
So
take the chance.
Take the chance. Do it. So Kristina, once again, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Brittany, as always, great to see you. Thank you for coming on too.
Of course. Hopefully we can do this in another year or so and let Kristina's story continue. Big things are coming this year too.
Awesome.
Next week. Brittany, sign up is next week for that. So we are
good.
Awesome.
We'll see what happens.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening, gang. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.